Welcome to Rule of Thirds on the Screen Refresh Network. Our goal every episode is to take a little break from watching and analyzing movies, dive headfirst into some nostalgia, or just get a little creative. So every month we select a topic and create a list that may or may not be near and dear to each of our hearts. So today, this is Tim, joined by...
Dean.
Hello there. You didn't tell us we needed to say our names.
We're all. I think it's more that we're all just way too polite. We're just like, I don't want to talk over anyone, so I'm just gonna wait.
It's been so long. I got
was
used to the
confused
don't
for a
open
second.
intro.
I was just confused for a second. I was like, oh, our names are usually here.
Insert name here. It's DIY.
Dean.
So,
Oh wait, I just
today,
doxed myself.
So today, for the Halloween season, we're going to be talking about some of our favorite jump scares. I know it's something that is often either hated or enjoyed. It's considered one of the cheapest versions of a scare in a movie, but I think at this point it's either well crafted enough to be interesting to set it apart from a lot of the standard tropey ones, or it's the subversion of it where you have the fake jump scare where somebody will be looking in the mirror or something and close the cabinet and then there's not anything behind you. So I think they've done it to death over the years at this point.
Yeah, I feel like, jump scares, they're really polarizing. And partially because, I think a good one will just make you really unhappy. When I think of a few of them, I'm just like, oh man, a really good jump scare that are really well crafted and put together and really thought out. And it'll just ruin the rest of my day.
Well, also, I think it's usually it can be good if they actually have something that is a sudden creepy moment or something to that effect. But so many times, so many things just rely on a loud noise stinger, and it's not, scared you. It's, no, you startled me. It's a jump startle, because it's not actually like, that was frightening. It's, no, if I'm sitting in my room and all of a sudden like a car backfires and I hear a loud bang outside, like I might jump. That isn't a jump scare. That's just, oh, that was startling.
And even non-horror movies do that to me. It could just be a drama or a tense scene in an action movie, and it's like, startled.
Yeah.
It was tough for me to find one because horror movies have telegraphed it so much at this point where I could almost literally do a countdown, 3, 2, 1, and then the entire theater around me, you can visibly see everyone jump from the potential scare. And it's really tough that horror movies, whereas they do deserve to have those jump scares because it's supposed to elicit that kind of response, movies don't do it. The video games always do.
I second that.
I think also there's points in video games that you can obviously tell when there's a level design that is setting up for a jump scare. Like, oh, this bookcase fell over and I have to climb through to get to the other side. It's, I'm climbing, and you know that something will drop down before you get to the end or something to that effect.
The entire dollhouse segment in Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
Or 6, or whichever one, the last one.
8, Village.
Yes.
I thought Village was 7. Oh wait, what was 7?
I think... Oh, yeah, VII.
It's the one with the tall vampire lady, that one.
That's 8.
I was like, wait, Tim, that's not how you spell village. I don't know.
Village. So, yeah, I think all sorts of media have made use of jump scares. I know, David, you were talking about, what was it, a book jump scare?
Book jump scare.
I think last time we were talking.
Book got super meta. Suddenly it wasn't about the guy in the book, it was about me.
I don't know if there's just I really need to find out what that is specifically and read it.
It also might have been a bunch of contributing factors where I was also in bed at night with the lights off and just my little reading light. And and it was one of those situations I have 40 pages left. I really want to finish this. So I was just it's fine. It's 11:30 at night. I'll just pound through this. Yeah, maybe don't pound through a horror novel at 11:30 at night with no lights on.
Well, I think that goes hand in hand with just horror in general, appreciating it. You have to be in a mindset for it. Otherwise, it's going to be entertaining, but not necessarily scary. And that's regardless of jump scare. That's just atmosphere. That's just dread. That's just all the stuff that they're putting into this. If you were watching it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon with a bunch of friends, it will probably be less scary than if all of a sudden you had a jump scare happen at midnight and you're watching it with headphones in your room in the dark alone.
I mean, it certainly makes, I mean, the number of horror movies we've watched at like lunchtime at your house, Tim, when we were kids, it's probably where I've seen the most horror movies.
Bone Man?
Bone Man. So many classics.
So yeah, who wants to give us a jumping off point on this?
Oh.
Dean, our horror aficionado, would you like to start us off?
For the third time in a row, you want me to go first.
Okay, well, I have 3 choices, so I will let you choose one of the 3 that I would do. Do you want number 1, number 2, or number 3?
It's got to be number 2.
So my second choice was going to be in the video game Eternal Darkness. The whole game is set up as I do have a movie choice, but it's so hard for me to like think of a jump scare because I see obvious ones. Because there's like, I remember like as a kid, the super close up of the xenomorph in Aliens when he takes out the pilot and it causes the crash. That was probably the only jump scare that got me to run up off the couch and shut it off. But as an adult, it's so difficult to get me on an actual jump scare that the only ones that are consistent is like in the case for this one. You're walking around doing your thing, you open the door to the bathroom and it does that super quick close up of the main character dead in a bathtub, followed by a scream. Gets me every time. Every single time it always gets me.
I have never played Eternal Dark.
Oh, it is
was
good.
it Eternal Darkness?
Yeah, you really would like it a lot, especially considering it's like very based on like Lovecraft, but not Lovecraft.
Because that was a GameCube release?
Yeah, it's old. It's old
Okay.
at this point, so it might have lost some of its luster. I don't know if they've ever done a remaster of it, but
No, it's in like a copyright hell.
it was. I remember playing it at the time when it came out, and boy, it was phenomenal. Also, the amount of like meta tricks it would play on you, the player.
Because
was
didn't
good.
have a sanity meter of some sort in the game?
And it actually fucked with you the more insane you got, or like the longer you were insane. So it'll show like your character dying during battle, and you think you died, but you really didn't, and then it jumps back like 10 seconds in the fight, and you realize you're not really dead. Or
Oh.
like the screen will go like funny. You start hearing stuff in the background as you're trying to do whatever. It's really polarizing when playing the game at full sanity versus not. The person that's not fully sane is going to have a hard time.
Yeah, it's a real fun one. I remember they also have ones where like you'll be walking around, your character's head will just fall off,
Yeah.
and now your character's headless. Like it's just like real fun, like visual and audio like tricks.
It's like a Psycho Mantis situation.
Yeah, except they like went all in on it.
We've got no health. We've got no mana. Our characters' heads are falling off.
Yeah, I need to at least find maybe a YouTube playthrough of that if it's not available out there anywhere. Although I assume it's probably available through emulation at this point.
Oh yeah, I mean that's pretty much going to be the only way. Like that's the one problem with like GameCubes. It's like the whole disc thing makes it so difficult, and at that time they weren't really transferring stuff over to digital at all. And of course Nintendo has such a stranglehold on all of its IPs. It's like oh, maybe it'll come to Steam. It's like no, it'll never come to Steam or GOG or anything.
Yeah.
Especially this one because of it, like there's a lot of legal issues between Silicon Knights, the developer, and something else, and Nintendo's just doesn't want to do a thing. And the dumb thing is, it's like you will literally print money. Like, is it going to be the next big thing? No, but you have enough of an audience that it would sell enough that it would justify the cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not enough like I mean it's not I mean, I guess it is a horror game. It's not like what you think of now as horror games, right? Now everyone thinks of like, the first person, everything's crazy scary, tons of jump scares, really weird, playing with abstract space. But it was just like dripping in horror theme without trying to be like a horror movie style scare. And definitely like leaned into a lot more of the mystery.
And you're always playing a different character in a different time period throughout history. So it really added a lot more to that story, because if you didn't like what you were currently doing, just keep playing in another like 20 minutes, you're going to be doing something completely different anyway. So that was just one of the many jump scares that game specifically has. But that one always gets me every fucking time.
Who would like to go next?
I'm going next.
Oh,
Okay.
No, you go last, Dean.
you go last now. You gave up.
I'll never do Rule of Thirds again. Actually, I was going to joke that we've never done a sequel to one of our things. So I'm like, I hate choosing So I was like, let's just talk about them all and just get all of our choices in there since we've never done a sequel. I don't think. I might be wrong.
I don't think so.
I don't think we have. Yeah, Nick, you said you had a movie one. It didn't have to be movies, right?
No,
Okay.
doesn't have to be.
I thought you were just like you said like I have a movie one, like you were assuring us that we had a movie choice. Anyway,
I wasn't sure how good the video game choice would have went, because that was the only one that, I mean, the other option would have been Phasmophobia, but I already talked about that one.
if I had actually gotten and played that with you guys, I'm sure that would be what I'm about to talk about. But
Yeah, Phas actually still jump scares me. I have a YouTube clip of an actual jump scare that the game has done to me, because it's just nothing, boom, jump scare.
But while I do get jump scared in movies and TV and anything that's trying to do that, games, interacting with a game. I'm not a horror person. If you've listened to the show, you know this. I get scared pretty easily in everything that's trying to scare me, at least for adults. But games are definitely worse because the interactive element, just hits harder. And like Nick touched upon. So my jump scare, this turns 10 years old this year, and I just heard that somebody in that Game Maker engine or whatever, Dreams, remade this. I don't know how faithfully. I guess maybe we can check it out, or someone, not me, I'm not playing it, can check it out. But it is the ill-fated playable teaser. What's it called? PT.
Oh, yeah.
PT.
Oh, yeah.
Good times.
The dead Silent Hill game from Hideo Kojima and Konami that happened right as they fell out.
We played that at your house.
You did.
And I remember nobody wanted to hold the controller.
Mainly myself and Laura, my wife. She wanted me to let you know that was like her. We talked about it. I was like, yeah, that would have been her choice too. So it's not a long demo, but there's a couple jump scare moments, but there's one in particular where you're already introduced to, it's a creepy, if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of a time loop, I guess you would call it. Time and space loop, where you just keep walking through this hallway over and over again, but as you do certain actions and things change and things appear, and there's an apparition that you realize. And the first time that she appears definitely scares me, but probably the biggest one is when there's like a radio playing in the hallway, and you're listening to it but not listening to it, and then you hear it say, "Look behind you," and you're like, "Oh, fuck." You turn around and there's nothing, and you're like, okay. And it's like the bait and switch, because then you turn around again, and then she's right in front of you and like decapitates you. So that was definitely pretty effective for me. But overall, that was any scary game really is going to get it, but that one just stood out to me.
I was trying to remember. PT was free, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was just meant to be like
a demo,
almost like a playable advertisement for what they thought was going to be the new Silent Hill.
Yeah. Because it once you finish it, it reveals, oh, you were Norman Reedus the whole time, and that's the real horror. But it launches into like a quick like teaser of like other, I guess, elements of the game that they were supposedly working on. They looked like it'd be scary as fuck, and like, I'll never play this unless somebody else plays it in the same room and I watch. But it looked good.
I think nowadays, with the increase in indie games and things like that, where you have a shorter game experience, PT could have been like, pay $10 and this is the game, like in its entirety, is just playing this time loop.
Well, that's the funny thing about PT, is that when PT came out, it was like the best horror game ever made, and has since it's come out has influenced basically all of modern horror games. Like, there's so many parallels that you can draw to it now, from how many people were so deeply inspired by it, that it kind of set a new standard in what horror games were.
Yeah. And like, if anybody is hankering for that feeling of PT and the look of PT, there's a game on Steam called Visage that is very close as far as the scares, the atmosphere, everything like that. So check that one out as well.
I want to download that right after this episode. Check that out.
You won't. I'll give you $5. You won't do it.
I'll give you $50.
All right, I'll record myself
and then
for that
stream
$50. Are there streamers like that? Like,
that
I don't know
play
people
horror
who
games that are
interested-
Oh yeah.
and they're
but that
hilarious.
are like extremely
of-
scared, like me playing a horror game. Would,
Yes.
I think would be
Oh,
funny.
yeah.
There's one guy that I follow that does exactly that. He is terrible at them, and it's hilarious seeing him react to it because he's not playing it up because he doesn't like. Oh, this is like the niche thing that I'm gonna be able to do. You could tell he fucking hates it. He hates it.
But he loves
like one of my-
money.
Those are like one of my favorite things to watch around like the spooky season is like let's plays of horror stuff. Like Jesse Cox, who's a YouTuber, he does what's called Scary Game Squad with a group of his friends, where they play like actually a lot of like smaller indie scary games, and they're all a bunch of wusses, and it's great because it's like 4 guys on a couch playing a horror game, just losing their shit.
We should do Phasmophobia for the Halloween season and bring Dean on.
We should.
I would definitely be that guy.
You're gonna be the guy in the van. We need a guy in the van.
Yeah.
I'd be a mix of nervous, like laughter, but also very real, scared terror.
The worst thing with Phasmophobia, and it always gets me, is that it has an ambiance inside the house that you only hear when you're in the house, and it is deafeningly loud. And that is what always gets me, because if it was just a normal silence as you're playing through the game, I don't think it would hit me nearly as bad compared to just constantly hearing the echo of just silence around you that whole time.
Is it just like it's not? Is it more sound design than it is music, like a droning, or is it? What is it really? What do you mean by ambience?
Like it captures
the sound of silence. Their version
Yeah.
of the sound of silence, essentially. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like you can hear the pressure in the room.
Okay.
Because the game itself isn't that scary.
Already
When you look
scared.
at the models, you can laugh at them because they're really not that bad. And especially even the way that they move and walk, it's 100% the sound design.
Yeah, I mean that contributes 100% to effective mood and I guess dread. Dread is like the key thing that gets me going.
That's the quote of the day. Dread is the thing that gets me going.
It's like a Folgers
gets me out of
commercial,
bed
but
in the
with just
morning.
dread.
Dean white knuckling it out of bed.
It's like nothing gets me out of bed like fear of my life.
It's true. Nothing
Just
would.
terror sweating his way to work.
Starts his day with a good jump scare. Like, all right, let's go.
I got an idea for a short. I got an idea for a short film now. I think I have to make it.
So PT, good choice, Dean. Phone home.
That's what I thought. No jump scares in that movie that I can think of.
Elliot.
So I will take it. So I am going to bring it up with the first movie choice. So this movie it's a horror movie. I actually liked it a considerable amount, considering it has a less than optimal Rotten Tomatoes score. But I don't think Rotten Tomatoes is very kind to horror movies. It's oh wow, I thought it was way more recent than it is. It came out in 2012. I found this movie terrifying, mainly because like the way the creature, whatever you want to call it, appears is like my exact like phobia.
The Devil Wears Prada.
It's like, oh, so that is your horror button? We're just going to do that the whole time over and over again. It's like, enjoy.
It's like bespoke scares just for you.
It's like, oh, that's the thing that gets you. All right, well, here it is. So the movie is sinister. And the specific scene that I am thinking of is, Tim's nodding his head, is a specific lawnmower scene.
Yeah.
This movie does a lot of cool things with shadowy characters just out of vision or like just on the edge of your vision and like blurry things that like you wouldn't really notice. And if you're familiar with the movie M. Night Shyamalan's Signs, I think this scene is like if you took Signs and dialed that Signs scene, Joaquin Phoenix sees the alien at the kid's birthday party. If you took that scene and just dialed it to like 14.
And then added a lawnmower.
Yeah. Like, because it's a very similar setup. You have like the dad sitting on a couch watching like a really old home movie
It's like
that's
an 8
on like
millimeter.
a real. Yeah, it's like an 8mm, and he's like projecting it on a screen, and he's like all close to the screen watching it, and then something horrible happens, and he like freaks out while you also freak out because it is horrible.
All of the little films in that are uncomfortable. Like
Little films.
So I didn't care for the movie entirely. I like it. I don't love it. I think the ultimate villain in it is a little laughable, but these movie sequences, so the whole thing is Ethan Hawke is an author. He ends up he's trying to look for his next big book. So he ends up buying and moving into a house where a murder happened and doesn't tell his family. And then they're starting to encounter odd things. And meanwhile, he's finding all of these home videos that were taken of these murders, because it would always be like, oh, the murders happen. And there's a home video of somebody committing all of these murders that all happen on tape. So you have this one with a lawnmower situation. You have one where it's just a video of, oh, it's everybody is hanging out and doing stuff. And then all of a sudden it'll jump cut to them getting all on chairs at a pool. And then somebody pulling a rope and pulling all of them into the pool, and they're stuck and they start drowning, or they bring all the people into the car and then they set the car on fire. So it's all these really disturbing little videos, but this one is the one
those
that
are
really
definitely
hits.
Those little videos I think are the best / worst part.
Yeah, it's like snuff films as vines.
I never seen the movies,
yeah, exactly.
so I just watched the clip, and the whole silence leading up to the actual jump scare, that's exactly what Phasmophobia does to you. I felt it was a little cheap on how it was just an audio thing, but I did like the the top comment, man, I hate when my lawnmower suddenly goes, bleh! It's so damn annoying. It almost got me, but it's that just really eerie quiet, and then audio cue.
Yeah, and it's in the lawnmower scene specifically is one of those jump scares where you clearly know that a jump scare is coming.
It's a Jack in the Box.
Yeah, but exactly, it's a Jack in the Box, but it messes with your timing, right? Because the whole Jack in the Box thing, you're not really sure when it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen.
Yeah,
and it's just long enough that yeah, it's a good one.
Telegraphed or not, it's still gonna make me jump, even though if I know it's sometimes it's worse if I anticipate it. It's
it's like a car crash. Don't tighten your muscles, just loosey goosey.
So see every horror movie drunk. Got it.
I don't know if that'd be better or worse, actually.
I think worse for everyone.
I like hearing stories like this. I'm sorry, just 2 Halloweens ago, my wife went back to New England and I was alone. So I was I want to actually watch some classics. And I did catch up on a few movies I hadn't seen, like Halloween 3, other things. But actually, I never really sit down and watch horror movies at Halloween because my wife is probably more adverse to horror movies than I am. And nobody's pushing me, but I actually got myself to do it. But it's hearing that, I'm maybe I should watch Sinister. Then I'm I want to be scared as fuck. But I don't know. Maybe I'll watch it.
Yes, check that out. And definitely check out. So this one I've mentioned before back on your podcast years ago, David. And I'm going to bring it up again now. It's from 2017 called Terrified by Demian Runya. The whole thing is a series of supernatural events, a death happens at a house on this neighborhood, and then there's a boy that ends up dying. And after these deaths are happening, they send in all of these people, a cop and some paranormal researchers, to investigate this street and the houses around it. And the more they look into it, the more weird supernatural things start happening, and the breaking of reality and all of this, that it actually, parts of it feels kind of In the Mouth of Madness, with the cracks in reality of things seeping through into our world. But the one that gets me is not necessarily a sudden jump scare. It's more of this jump scare through the realization of what you're looking at. Because as the cop is in the car, he just left some of the people that were doing the research in the house. He gets back into his car, and we see the shot of him in profile and then out his driver's side window looking back at the house. And you see a figure kind of walking and then walking faster towards him. And by the time it comes into view enough, you realize that it's one of the women that he had just left, but her head is entirely broken and upside down. And she's just running towards the car with her head just dangling at her neck.
Yeesh.
They later reused this in Smile in I think it was 2022, 2023, where it was, they even put in like the trailer for Smile where she's sitting in her car and then her like sister knocks on the window and she turns to look and then the head breaks and then like flips upside down. But Terrified did it better, and I think Terrified, did it first. So great movie to watch in general. Like it's a good one. There's a lot of dread in it. There's some scares in it. But overall, it's just a good movie. But definitely that scene is terrific.
How old is that?
2017.
Oh, okay.
So not too old. It's subtitled. So read.
Oh, what's the country of origin for that one?
I think Argentinian.
Interesting.
But yeah, there's not a lack of, for all of the bad jump scares, there are good jump scares, which at some point in the future, like we'll probably talk about. The ones that everybody always goes to, like Exorcist 3. If you haven't seen Exorcist 3.
I did research, and that one fucked with me. Is that the one with
That's
the
a good
hallway?
one. Yep.
That one was like, whoa, what the fuck? That was good.
So
Oh, I don't think I saw the third one. I know I saw the first two.
the third one is my favorite one. The third Exorcist just follows somebody just showed up that they found that is now in this like medical facility, and there's a series of killings, and they end up going to interview this guy because he's supposedly the priest or one of the priests from the first one, but doesn't really know anything. He doesn't know what's going on, so they go to interview him, and he's possessed. But it's a lot of really interesting like investigation stuff from the police side, and then it goes into like the back 35 minutes is all just the battle back and forth between the cop and the possessed demon. Great George C. Scott, great Brad Dourif, great everybody in this thing.
Brad Dourif, he's always good.
Love Brad Dourif.
Insert a Chucky quote here.
Yes.
I'll accept Wormtail too. Or Tongue. Wait, which one is it? I get the Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. Either one.
You actually got the worm part wrong. It's tongue tail.
Tongue tail.
Cream of tongue tail.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys haven't seen Exorcist 3, it's definitely one to check out.
Damn it. I guess that's on my list now.
Huh. I guess I just get wary of like horror sequels when they get to a point. So like when I see like 3 or 4, I'm always kind of like, I don't know.
I mean,
So
it makes sense.
That's why Amityville 4 is the best Amityville.
Is that the time travel? There's just one of them that's like, it's about time.
That's why Jason X is the best.
Jason X
Jason
actually
8.
was fun. I thought that was pretty fun. Shout out to The Ring when I think they're talking
The
about
closet?
the first. Yeah, that's a jump scare. That's like it's a cut and a sound effect, and then the horrific image, like all at the same time. That made me jump for sure.
Which, coming from Ringu, where the faces of like the dead, it's just like a normal person with their mouth open, like they just got scared of like, and that's the corpse, which works for Ringu. But then it's like, okay, we did the American remake. People are not going to be entertained by that. We need to amp it up. So it makes these creepy death faces, which throws you off because then you don't see it. Yeah, like you don't see it in the beginning. You think, oh, like somebody looks at it and then they like react of, oh my God. And you don't see it and, oh, okay, then like they're not going to show us. And then just randomly it's talking to somebody. Yeah, I remember. I saw her face. And then smash cuts to just like the door opens wide and then jumps in and all of a sudden it's a close up on that face and then it pulls to the next scene and you're like, whoa.
Oh, Jesus. What did she do? Like it essentially turned them into what they would look like if they died down there, I guess. I don't know. After 7 days. I don't know.
I guess that makes sense.
But and they unhinge they break your jaw too.
I still think the remake of The Ring is terrific. Like it's one of the only good American remakes from that time. Like they did Shudder, they did The Eye, they did Pulse, like all of those. The Ring is the only one that still stands on its own as being a good movie.
The Grudge, that was also
and The Grudge. And then go look up the Texas Chainsaw 2 jump scare. The scene in the records room with Bill Moseley as Chop Top, and they're talking to him. And then she's trying to get him out of the radio station. And then she goes over to the darkened room where they have all of the music. and then all of a sudden the light kicks on and Leatherface comes like full sprint running with a chainsaw from the back of that room, and it's just this great jump scare in an otherwise like very unsettling scene because you think that the danger is coming from the crazy guy you're talking to that you're trying to like placate and get out of the room, and the danger is actually in the next room running at you.
Third runner-up to recently It Chapter 1 during the slide sequence in the garage. That got me too.
The
Oh yeah.
the You'll Float too with Georgie in the basement. That it's not so much like jump scare, but just like really unnerving.
Yeah, that audio transition to the worse voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Mm. Yeah, the new It did some fun things.
I did think it was scarier than the original one.
Oh well, I mean the original was made for TV, so like it had to really tame things.
Yeah, like I still enjoyed them. My main problem with It Chapter 1 and 2 is just it felt very on the rails haunted house of it's just, okay, we just have 15 scares that we wrote, and we just need to get from this one to this one to this one to this one, that it doesn't really feel like a fleshed out film. It just feels like, hey, I'm sitting on the tram and just throw all these scares at me one after the other.
I can see that.
The first one, I felt it masked that quite a bit, but the second one was just night and day difference. That one was a little tougher to get through. On rewatch especially. The first one I enjoy watching a lot. I feel as its own standalone movie, it works very well. And then the second one is just like, we have to hit all of these 36 beats through this whole movie. Buckle up, because we're going to hit all 36 beats through this entire movie. And it's just,
Yeah. Okay, anybody have any other ones before we wrap this one up?
The most important one for all millennials, and that's going to be the 1985 Pee-wee's Big Adventure with Large Marge.
That stop motion, like it's like the Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
it's like what Beetlejuice's face would have been had they showed that angle.
Yeah, it probably is.
Okay, gang, that wraps up another episode of Rule of Thirds, and we'd like to thank you for coming along for the ride and discussing our favorite jump scares. As always, you can reach us on Instagram at Screen Refresh, or shoot an email to screenrefresh@gmail.com to let us know what your top picks would be, or if you have any other topics you want to hear us discuss. That's it from us. So for Nick, Dean, and David, this is Tim. Have a great week, have a happy Halloween, and we'll see you next time.
Tell them Large Marge said, yeah.
That'll be the ending.
That's gotta be.